Welcome to the MSP Corner podcast. Before we kick off our show, we would like to share what our main objective is at the MSP Corner. Our main goal is to help CEOs build profitable and self-sustainable IT service firms. We are not just providing tools for IT firms, we will be sitting in meetings with you to ensure your IT firm stays on track. The first area we are focused on, strategic sales. IT firms are stuck selling technology or IT support. We will provide you with the blueprint so you position your firm as an added value to your prospects. We will have framework on how to sell value so you influence the prospect into selecting your firm. The second area we see many IT firms struggle in is marketing. 90+% of businesses rely on antiquated marketing methods. The most popular choice, word of mouth. We have proven methods on how to attract the ideal prospect. Our framework will include how to become the online authority and be the business influencer for an industry. The third component to our package, scaling. IT firms walk away from opportunities because they lack the bandwidth or skill set to scale. We have lined up reputable businesses so our members can hire on-demand resources that will allow them to scale their business. The fourth area we will offer help in, selecting the right tools. In order to deliver value, you need the right tech stack. Our platform will offer information on products that are the ideal choice for MSPs. The fifth area we will offer help in is with documentation. Templates are a critical component when building an MSP. We will have contracts, proposals, SOWs, collateral, and much more in the template section. You will have every document you need to start up your managed IT service business. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go to our next podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to another podcast here at the MSP Corner. I am your host, Fernando Leon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Gregory Moravietz. And today's topic, well, it's a preview of next week's show, the Expert Corner, because at the end of every month, the last Thursday of every month, we're going to have an Expert Corner show where really it's just what's the term? It's just a show where we welcome other CEOs to come on and ask us questions, and they all have challenges, or they might not have any challenges, and they just want to get feedback on what their marketing strategy is, or selling services, or selling value. They might have just whatever. We're going to take on all questions. We're going to take on all comers. So you guys can we'll be producing a registration page this week so you guys can join us or sign up to join us next week. All right, so before we get started, let's quickly go over the agenda of really it's next week's show. Right, the topic of next week's show is going to really be niches equals riches. How do you select a niche? Right, we'll dive deeper into each topic and what do niches look for, right? They want you to build trust. And how do you do that? You obviously need to build credibility. But you know, you produce all this content, you produce all this great information for the niche. How are you going to deliver a message of authority, right? And there's several ways, and there's several strategies, and there's several funnels you can set up, but every solution has its own strategy. So, and we'll be talking about newsletters, email, right? Newsletters are really an email. Nobody mails newsletters to businesses. So get that out of your mind. We're on the new school bus, or the new school journey, not the old school journey. Podcasts are a great way to obviously build credibility. You talk about your expertise, you talk about the challenges you solve for a specific industry. Lunch and learns. Now, lunch and learns, it sounds expensive, right? It can be if you do it on your own, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that during our expert corner call because if maybe that will be the entire show, just talking about each strategy. Nobody has questions, they're just ready to listen. Speaking engagements for your niche, they're out there, you have to find them. Webinars are a great way to illustrate your expertise. And how are you going to announce all that? Well, you got to have a social media following, right? Who follows your business page? Who follows you? Have you started a group on Facebook where you ask CEOs of other industries to join the discussion, to join and discuss their challenges? So social media needs to be leveraged in order for you to build that brand, build that authority, build trust, credibility. So I just got off the phone. So Greg, I do. We can start talking just in general about what's going to be talked about next week. But I just got off the phone with a gentleman who is the CEO of his own IT service firm, and I was talking to him exactly about this. We were talking about, look, in order for you to hit the ground running, you gotta pick a niche. Pick a niche that you know so well that when you speak to a CEO of that niche, they're going to know that you are credible, that you are trustworthy, that you are the expert in that field. So pick a niche. Now, you want to start generating interest. So we started talking about, an outreach campaign because he doesn't have very much money to invest. He's got to he's got to slowly build up. And I told him the cheapest way you're going to that the cheapest way, the most cost effective way is to send out a newsletter, start producing content, produce the content yourself. You know what your audience suffers from, you know their challenges, you know their what agitates them, you know where what problems you're going to solve, so start producing content that solves their problem and then announce it on your newsletter. Do an outreach campaign on LinkedIn, leveraging Sales Navigator, because Sales Navigator gives you a lot of great content if you want to target a specific niche. Because if you know all the features on Sales Navigator, it allows you to target a specific area, a specific executive, specific size of organization, and it's a great tool to introduce yourself, reach out to executives on a massive scale. So it's not like it's like making 20 cold calls every day. Instead, maybe no one's going to answer the phone, no one's going to look at your message that day, but someone will eventually look at that message and say, oh, okay, I'll connect with Gregory. And then Gregory is going to eventually reach out to you again. And there's tools out there with AI technology that allows you to automate this whole process. But newsletters and outreach campaigns are going to help you escape obscurity. People know that you're around. People know that you're credible. People will receive information that is going to solve problems for them. So email is probably going to be the most cost effective way to get your name out there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could buy a list. You and I have bought lists before, so you can buy a list, and then that list will get you something, right? It'll get you a group of people you can approach.
Well, I remember the last list we bought. It was 20 years ago, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing back then. We just did it. We were back then. It was just all solicitation. It's like send out massive amounts of emails asking them if they want IT support. There wasn't a strategy in place. It was all just solicitation upon solicitation, and that's not going to get you anywhere. You gotta look. We're unfortunately
And fortunately for the prospects out there, we've got to build trust. And in order for you to trust somebody, you gotta they you gotta you have to prove that, right? It's like you dating somebody. Can you trust that girl if she goes out every weekend without you? Right? I mean, you're gonna be like, I don't want to make that girl my girlfriend. She's going out. She preferred to live a single life. Why am I gonna make her my girlfriend if she says one thing and does another? That's just not gonna go over well with anybody who wants to be in a relationship. So, and that's kind of the same way businesses look at IT firms. Why should I trust you? What do you do? What have you produced in order for me to trust you? Just you by saying, hey, I'm an IT guy and I know how to fix your computer. Businesses want more than just somebody who can fix a computer. They want somebody who delivers value. And when you know a niche and you know it very well, you're going to know all their challenges. You're going to know all the pain points they can go through, and you can walk them through how not to fall into these traps of problems. So, yeah, you need to produce content that's going to, you know, show the world or show a niche or show an industry that you are the thought leader. You can deliver. You know their challenges. And everybody is like, well, is this the silver bullet? Is this going to generate tons of leads for me? And am I going to get hundreds of customers? No, it's not. It's going to, depending on how big your market is, you have to engage your prospects. Even though you might get a handful of business every year, you got to continue with your newsletter. You got to continue building on that email list, because and you got to continue sending them information, because a lot of these companies are very happy with their IT service group. They're happy with their MSP partners. But like everybody knows, everybody listening in on this podcast, you've been fired. We've been fired. Why? Because clients are very, how would you say, how would you describe a client who is happy one day, you make one mistake and they're unhappy the next day? What would you call them? Wishy-washy?
They just have their priorities not aligned with reality. Sometimes they're
That's
just
fair.
concentrating on one thing and not being aware that everything's holistic and there's a lot more to things than meets the eye. Like you can't just ignore your vendors and treat them poorly. You end up firing them thinking it's their fault, but a lot of the time it's your fault.
Yes. And that's one thing that we'll discuss on another podcast is what makes a good partner, what makes a good client, right? A good client has to meet with you to discuss where you're falling short. And this is not a one-way street. Where are they falling short? Hey, Mr. Customer, we need to implement that backup solution, or you're going to be in a world of shit, right? Because
Right.
if they do not want to listen to your recommendations, and then there's a disaster, they're not going to look at them. They're not going to look in the mirror and say, "Oh, Tom, we should have listened to Gregory."
No,
No, they're not going to say that.
never.
They're not going to look in the mirror. They're going to call up Gregory and they're going to say, "Why didn't you implement backup?" Well, let me point you to the 100 emails I sent you for the past 3 months, right? I don't care. It's like, it's the same old story. Nobody wants to take accountability, and somebody has to be the scapegoat. Somebody has to get blamed for the disaster. And usually it's the IT guy. And that's unfortunate for our industry. We're usually the fall guy, right? We're the ones that get blamed for everything. And there was a cartoon that came out the other day. It's hilarious and it's so accurate. And the CEO is talking to the IT guy, and he's complaining to him. He's like, nothing works. You're always fixing IT problems. Well, and then the IT guy responds with, well, I'm going to implement a strategy so you don't have problems. And then the next cartoon is, why are you here? You don't fix anything, right? It's like, can, can we ever win, Greg? Can
No,
we ever win?
we are not in a win business.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about our business. We're in a really, really it's a every business needs us. That's the beauty of it. Not every business needs an attorney, or like not every business needs Microsoft, right? We've got Google. We need something, but not we have options now where we're like, oh, we don't even need Google. We can use DuckDuckGo if we're using a different type of application or search engine. But if you're looking for, a suite of applications to run your business, you will need Google or Microsoft. But you're no longer trapped. You're no longer it's no longer a one man show. It's Microsoft has competition, and Google has done a decent job of delivering a competitive option for Microsoft. But yeah, everybody needs an IT guy. I mean, yeah, you could be a five-person shop and get away with it for a while, but you're going to eventually need an IT person. It's just a fact of life. Now, let's move on to how else can you announce to the world that you exist, you are the expert, you provide value, you service a specific niche. Our podcasts are ideal for interviewing vendors who are and add value to your niche. Podcasts are an ideal way for you to illustrate you are the thought leader. I listen to I'm going to piss off some liberals here, but I listen to Ben Shapiro. And Ben Shapiro just sits there and talks to the camera, right? He's talking to the camera and he's talking about, his views. And I like Ben because he's a sharp guy, but I also listen to other liberal speakers like Bill Maher, who he's funny, and he provides an entertaining platform, and he makes some valid points, and he's not a bad. He's also a sharp guy, but these guys are creating content that draws eyes and it draws ears. People are listening. They want more. Your job is to also create content that people want to hear. It's just a fact of life. People want to either be entertained or be educated. Start educating your audience. All right. Now we're going to be also talking about lunch and learns and how can we, you know, an IT service firm reached out to me and they're like, you know what, Fernando, we need a virtual VP of marketing. We need somebody to come up with a strategy on how we're going to become the thought leader because you cannot implement, you just cannot. You're going to fail. If any of you are listening, you're going to fail if you don't put any thought into any marketing campaign. That's just a fact of life. If you're like, oh, I'm going to optimize my website. Well, really, what does that mean? Well, I hired a search engine optimization group. They're going to optimize my keywords. So I met with this group, Greg, the other day. Actually, it was a couple months ago. And the CEO said, you know what? We hired this SEO group 2 years ago. We've been paying them $1,500 every month, and what they paid them for 24 months, $36,000, and not one lead came in for 2 years. Right? They were optimizing their keywords. I go, well, let me talk to them. Let me see what's going on here. Why haven't you received any traffic, any organic traffic? And I looked at the words they were optimizing, and I'm like, these guys don't know what they're doing. They were optimizing the name of the company. Why would you optimize the name of the company? No one's going to enter the company name into a search engine with to for it to come up. If you enter single point of contact in a search engine, we're going to be more than likely the number one option because you entered the exact name. There's no reason to optimize the name single point of contact. So these guys were obviously in over their heads. They didn't know what they were doing. And some of the words they were optimizing weren't even on the website. So it's a shame that some of these SEO groups are selling an expertise they can't deliver, and it's unfortunate. But anyways, you need a strategy. You need a strategy that clearly defines your goals, clearly defines your audience, clearly defines what well, just an overall goal of product content creation. So, but we're going to be talking about speaking engagements during the expert corner, right? What goes into speaking engagements? Greg will give his input. I'll give my input. Webinars. What will you discuss on a webinar? Social media, right? You got to leverage social media to deliver your message. And Greg, there's another thing that came out, and this is really interesting. And I was like shocked when I heard it. So, you and I would love to get in front of the CEO of, let's say, a Fortune 500 company, right?
Right.
Well, Fortune 500 CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are very difficult to get in front of. But one thing that not all CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are watching TV, but if they have, check this out, if they have Hulu, if that CEO has Hulu, Netflix, or Amazon, I don't think Netflix has commercials yet, but if they have Hulu or Amazon or maybe the basic channel for Disney, you can now start showing your advertisement
I
to
heard
that.
this too.
That's amazing. That is freaking amazing that you could do that now.
Yeah,
I
I
know
heard
you,
you could advertise your own product on Hulu.
yeah, on all these
And
platforms.
it's not
Now,
expensive. I heard it's like $75 an ad.
yes, it's not expensive. I'm telling you, before it was like you'd have to spend millions of dollars to advertise on TV, on radio, and all that. And podcast is another, right? If you know your niche is listening to a specific podcast, like uh Doctor Medical Channel or podcast.com is on every Friday and all these doctors are listening to it. Wouldn't it wouldn't it behoove you to create a podcast ad that solved a doctor's problem on that podcast and you would broadcast it on that podcast? That's what these guys need to investigate. They need to research things like that. Create Start thinking out of the box. This is it's a new world out there. It's a new strategy, and the internet has leveled the playing field. So you, the small guy, can play can play on the same field as the big players. So but yeah, there's a lot, and we'll be talking a lot about all this stuff during our expert corner. Whether we're going to have a bunch of questions, but I can stick to I'll stick to an agenda during the expert corner. But maybe we just talk about one strategy, like the newsletter. What's it going to take? And that's what I'll do. I'll create a presentation of what it's going to take to have a successful newsletter campaign, a newsletter successful newsletter campaign. So, all right, Greg, did you want to add anything else? Because I'm
No,
going to
that's
wrap
it.
this up. All right, all right. Okay, everybody, thanks for listening, and don't forget to sign up to be a member on the MSP Corner. Please share our link with the CEO who will find our information beneficial to their business. All right. Thanks again for listening. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to sign up to be a member on www.mspcorner.com. Please share our link with a CEO who will find our information beneficial to their business. Have an awesome day.